So as Matt said, we are going for this as a live session, and our panelists are from all over the world. So hopefully technology will be on our side for the next 15 minutes or so. Lucy, please could you bring up Adam, Simon and Carol, who are our panelists. So we've got Adam Burke from Natural Resources Wales, we've got Carol Agius from EuroGeographics, and we should have in any second now Simon Roberts from the Scottish Improvement Service. So guys, do you want to just quickly go around the table and introduce yourselves and in one sentence what you do day to day at your organisation? Carol, would you like to go first?
Hi, hopefully my internet will hang on this time, it won't die. Yes, I work with EuroGeographics, as you know, and my day-to-day job, I take care of the Secretariat for UNGJM Europe, and I also engage with capacity development and knowledge exchange within our members across all of Geographic Europe.
Brilliant, thanks Carol. Adam, same to you.
Yeah, afternoon everyone. My name is Adam Burke. I'm Lead Specialist Advisor for Geospatial Data at Natural Resources Wales. Natural Resources Wales is the single environment body for Wales. We have a huge environmental remit covering a land manager, owner, designator, and responder to environmental incidents as well.
Thanks, Adam. Same to you, Simon.
Thanks, Phil. Yeah, Simon Roberts. I work for a company called the Improvement Service that works with Scottish local government on enabling them to provide usability to their data. My key role is to engage with data experts across the community and work with them on improving that data.
Thanks, guys. Yeah, so this is a live session. It's interactive, so please feel free to use the Q&A box. As Matt said, we are running a bit behind, so anything that's rather left field, we may have to leave till the end, but all of our panelists will be around for the rest of the afternoon. So please feel free to get in touch with them if you've got anything you disagree or agree that they've said. I'm sure they'll be up for a chat later on. So first of all, Carol, we've heard many definitions today about what authoritative data is and its mandated use. And you mentioned that a number of national mapping agencies across Europe are starting to publish their authoritative data through geoportals. And with 2020 and COVID-19, would you say that the knowledge of authoritative data and its importance has increased over the past year?
Well, yes, as we saw earlier today, the need for geospatial information has ever increased. And I think the COVID pandemic has actually highlighted the importance of not only geospatial information, but also for other authoritative data. We saw COVID dashboards as an example, which brought together geospatial information together with statistical, health information, etc. So I think yes, I think the need for geospatial information has increased, and the appreciation for it has increased manifold during the pandemic.
Thanks, Carl. It's interesting. And I guess we've seen this morning that often when we're starting to look at our processes as producers of authoritative data, it's the policies and the requirements that come from various stakeholders that affect how we produce this authoritative data. And Adam, what are the policies and drivers in Wales that require high quality authoritative data to be produced?
Yeah, okay. So some of the unique policies and drivers that we have in Wales are the Environment Act and the Wellbeing of Future Generations Act. So the first half of the Environment Act, it enables Wales's natural resources to be managed in a more proactive, sustainable and joined up way. One part of that act is for us to produce a report, a summary of the State of Natural Resources report, which is all about balancing those resources in equilibrium. To quantify this, we have a lot of data, and it's a lot of authoritative data that goes into that report. Because we brand ourselves as an evidence-based environmental organisation, we use a lot of high-quality spatial data. And we work at a variety of different local levels as well, across a wide geographic area. So for us, yes, the authoritative data is important to enable us to meet our legislative duties under the Environment Act and the Wellbeing of Future Generations Act.
Yeah, I guess it's important to remember this year that COVID-19 isn't the only problem that our world is facing. Climate change, protecting the environment, all of these things are still incredibly important, and where authoritative data is going to be used. And I guess also up in Scotland, Simon, you guys are making authoritative data available to a wide number of stakeholders, whether that's climate change or COVID responses or even town planning. Data Hub, there's the new Scottish Geospatial Network Integrator that got announced. How do these initiatives of things like the Planning Pathfinder report and things, how does that impact on how you're gathering and producing the authoritative data in your spatial data?
It's a good question, actually. I mean, in this morning's session, I've been listening to various sort of descriptions about what authoritative data is and means, and I think it means different things to different people. What we tend to see, I'm quite privileged because I've spent some time in central government and now I'm working within local government. And at that local government level, data is collected normally for a single purpose, to deliver a service or carry out a policy or legislation. And when other people attempt to use that data for different reasons, maybe at a national level, because we haven't really thought about the standards and the governance of that data, it becomes more problematic. So with things like the Data Pathfinder report, we've been trying to drill down into what are the reasons for that. And we're sort of coming to the understanding that without a decent data governance and decent data standards permeating all the way down from the policy setting down to the service delivery, we're always going to struggle with that authoritative data if we need to use it in different places. So we're trying to unpick some of that now and make pragmatic recommendations for how people can address that using a sort of carrot and a stick approach, because we recognize that one or the other won't necessarily work in isolation.
Yeah, that's interesting to know, and I guess it's all parties need to be involved. And there's a question that's just come in. Simon, you mentioned that you work with local government. I think it's the classic question when it comes to local government. Are local government being left behind? Lack of funding. Carol, you had a similar question this morning about how can we be producers of good quality authoritative data as the purse strings are ever tightened. So Simon, I guess you're probably best placed to respond to that question. It's just appeared in the question.
Yeah, I mean, it's the number one question, isn't it, really? Resources are the big underlying factor here. I think certainly this year has been a game changer. Everyone is beginning to recognize that data is fundamental, particularly when we have these emergencies and natural disasters that we have to address. So I think you're going to see senior managers standing up and paying a lot more attention to who are the data specialists within their organization and identifying gaps where they exist, about where data needs to be improved so it can be used more readily and effectively. I mean, we all know that as data practitioners, we spend 80% of our time trying to find decent data and get it into a decent state before we do anything sensible with it. That's massively affecting productivity. So it's all about making that well communicated message to senior managers, making them realize they have to keep investing in what it is we do and not forget about it.
Yeah, thanks, Simon. And a question now to Adam. I guess we've heard a few talks about use cases. Simon was just mentioning the emergencies use cases, and I guess for you guys it'd be protecting your natural resources and the environment in Wales. How do these changing demands, do they affect the way that you produce authoritative data being produced? How does that have an impact on the quality of the authoritative data?
Yeah, okay, so really good question. And when we produce our data being a government organisation, we have a policy open by default where possible. So naturally, all of our data products are used in a variety of places, whether that be at local authority or insurance for flood, things like that. They very much use at a local and national level. We're aware of how that data is used as well, and it's reused in so many places, which is why we try to make it available as possible for people. So we publish it to our geoportal Flare, which is shortly going to be relaunched as Data Map Wales. But we also try and take this a step further then as well by producing what we call a data and information portal. So it focuses on the fact that data portals are great, like data.gov, where people go for their data, but we're trying to focus on not everybody wants that raw data. People want to use that data and understand that data in different ways. So we try and bring that together by combining a number of data analytics tools and business intelligence tools so people can make better decisions based on that data to help them use it and impact on policy then.
Thanks, Adam. And I guess a similar question now, moving on, thinking about that quality. So Adam, you mentioned you got Claire, the system, I can never pronounce it right, but you got the Claire spatial portal, Simon, you got the spatial data hub, and Carol, we mentioned about the geoportals, and there's various things. One Spatial presented yesterday about the LMDM framework of products, enabling good quality and authoritative data. So I guess in a sentence each, why is data quality in authoritative data important? Carol, would you like to go first?
Well, I think it's important because the calling card of national mapping agencies is that the data is of quality. It is verifiable, it is traceable, it is data that can be trusted for decisions that are evidence-based. So I think that is why it's so important for authoritative data to be of quality. It has to be, it's trustworthy data. You need to know that where the data is coming from, and you need to be able to trust it.
Great, Simon, same question.
Okay, I came up with a quote the other day on this. Data is only ever as good as the importance that is placed on it. And what I'm thinking about there is policy and legislation isn't necessarily the best way to drive quality improvements. If there's an underlying rationale and reason for collecting the data, then it's far more likely to increase in quality. And what we see in Scotland, a data set like the vacant and derelict land data set, because there are millions of pounds in funding that is attached to that data set that local authorities can bid for to get development happening on their vacant land, you see the quality of that data set increasing and people spending more time on adopting standards and making sure it's timely.
Brilliant, thanks, Simon. I hope our marketing team made a note of that quote. That would be a good one for social media, guys. Adam, same question to you. I don't suppose you've got a rival quote for Simon, do you?
I love Simon's quote, and also Matt's quote this morning on the opening presentation as well is good data, bad data, quality quote as well, stuck with me. We have our own quote that we use internally at Natural Resources Wales, which is any decision made in the absence of good data is basically a guess. It's one of my favourite quotes, certainly, because we brand ourselves as an evidence-based environmental organisation. So naturally, data quality is important to us, but we refer to data quality as known data quality because we want to know what that data quality is, because we make decisions based on it at the end of the day, and we encourage people to reuse our data. So data quality is absolutely important to us.
Brilliant, thanks. Another great quote, all excellent stuff. Hopefully, sound bites from the rest of the day. We're coming to a close of the panel session, but I've got a couple of questions I just want to ask before we finish. We've spoken about the use cases of the processes of producing the authoritative data and why we need to ensure in those processes that we have processes in place to ensure that the data is really high. One of the key drivers is policymakers putting a demand on producers of authoritative data to ensure it is of high quality. But we've seen in various of the UN GGIM frameworks that about the different stakeholders that need to be involved. And would you argue that the policymakers and the producers of authoritative data are working well aligned to ensure that we're all working to one same common goal? Simon, I guess the question to you first.
Yeah, I think this touches on one of the biggest problems that we've seen, and certainly with my central and local government background, I see this. There seems to be, for me, a massive disconnect between the way that policy is developed and then the way that data is collected about that policy. As far as I'm concerned, policy people, as soon as they want to sort of create legislation, they need to be discussing with data experts what the best data and how the best data should be collected so that we can monitor that that policy is actually achieving what it was setting out to do in the first place. Because if you don't have that full circle of a data circle following the policy circle, you can never really sort of work out or why you were doing things in the first place. Data can inform that and should be used at the start of the process, as far as I'm concerned.
Brilliant. Thanks, Simon. Guys, we've got 20 seconds left of our time, so I've got one question, as it were, for you, which we'll go around the table for one answer each of. 2020 has seen the world change dramatically. What do you think the future role of authoritative data is in a post-COVID-19 world? I guess we'll start with Adam.
Short answer, yes, it's going to absolutely increase. Geographic data, location data, call it what you want, is going to play a big role in the fight against COVID-19. And our use of authoritative data, as we've seen so much in the press and media lately, is only increasing.
Thanks, Adam. That's great. Carol, same question to you.
Yes, of course, as I'll be saying, the need for data will continue to increase, and I think that will provide the challenge of how to keep up with the demand for data. So I think it will see more automated ways of collecting data, ensuring the data, looking at artificial intelligence, deep learning, and innovative technologies which we don't even know about yet, but I think we'll be hearing about more in the future.
Great, thanks. And finally, same question to you there, Simon.
So yeah, I think everyone recognises that authoritative data is crucial in our response to COVID. I just have a word of warning here. I personally believe that the right data experts need to be heavily involved at the top in solving the problems that we face. My worry is that there's a lot of people clamoring to be involved and trying to make decisions where they don't necessarily have the full understanding of how data should be best collected and used. So I would like to see particularly geospatial experts being at those senior discussions about how we solve the massive problems that we face.
Brilliant. Well, we've come to the end of our time. Thank you so much for taking part in our panel session today. There were some questions in the queue quite get around to answering. I saw there was one that was the votes were shooting up just as we concluded about data standards and the land registry project. I'm sure, Simon, you'd be well up for any debates over the networking during the networking session on that, and as will Adam and Carol as well. If you had any further questions, they're both around for the rest of the day. So please do exploit the networking capabilities and the chat functions to continue the questions. Why not put them in the general chat if we want everyone to be seeing the questions and answers throughout the rest of the day. Thank you so much, Carol, Adam, and Simon, for your time, and enjoy the rest of the event. Thank you.